Getting back to the French and Indian War, the war breaks out. France, Great Britain, and colonial America. English colonists settle the eastern coast, the eastern coast, and France claims the interior. As we stated earlier, you see in the early 17th century, England comes over and starts to settle all along the eastern coast of what would eventually be North America and eventually the United States. And by 1732 has established 13 colonies, of course with Georgia being the last. The French have claimed the interior along the Mississippi River known as the Ohio River Valley. Well, the English and the French are both wanting to claim this area. Well, again, both England and France have also made allies with different Native American groups. The English allied with the Creek, Cherokee, and Iroquois, and the French had allied with the Hurons and Algonquians. And the Europeans and natives often got involved in each other's wars. In the 1700s, in fact, 2 French and English wars had spread to the colonies, which the Indians had gotten involved with. Okay. Continued war breaks out. French and Indian War. Beginning in 1754, British and French fight small battles over territory in the Ohio River Valley. This is called the French and Indian War by the British, and this is a part of the larger French and English 7 Years' War, which actually lasted from 1756 until 1763. So the French and Indian War lasts from 1754 to 63, and the 7 Years' War lasts 7 years from 56 to 63. The Native American allies fought for the French, which is the reason why it is known as the French and Indian War. It was in fact between France and England, but the French had their Native American allies, and in 1761, Spain allies with them as well, but Britain ends up winning the war in 1763. This was in large part due to successful leadership in officers such as, at the time, George Washington was a captain in the Army, and he helped to win much of many battles out in the Ohio River Valley section. War was mostly fought up in the north, and Georgia was very calm and prosperous during the war. There really wasn't a lot that was going on down in Georgia during that time. The war ends. The war ends with the Treaty of Paris in 1763, which of course Paris is in France, and it ends both the 7 Years' War, which is going on in Europe, and the French and Indian War, which is going on in the colonies. Britain claims all land east of the Mississippi River, and France gives Spain land west of the Mississippi, including New Orleans. England, which had captured Cuba and the Philippines from Spain, they trade Cuba and the Philippines to Spain in return for Spain giving up control to Florida, because it would just make sense, since the English colonists are all along the eastern seaboard, that they would also take over Florida. The treaty ends French power in North America. Let's look again at this map. Again, you'll see the French had the orange area here, English had the yellow here, and of course the green is Spanish here. And you see how the Spanish Empire grows. So after the War of 1763, I apologize, the Treaty of 1763, the Treaty of Paris, Spain's empire just continues to grow, and so does the English. I mean, you see here, all of this is going to be English, whereas much of this used to be French, which again is the reason why they speak French in Quebec, and you have a version of French down here in New Orleans, which is a very important port. So in 1763, you're going to get a proclamation line. It's on the notes, but we'll look at it here as well. Proclamation line of 1763 is established here, and that is along what mountain chain? Very good. It's the Appalachian Mountains. So the line is established here, and the proclamation line of 1763 says that the British colonists would not settle past the line, past the proclamation line. Well, the one problem with that is colonists, again, had very loose rules up to that point and were allowed to settle pretty much wherever they wanted to. Well, they are forced to come back to just east of the Appalachian Mountains, and that's going to upset a lot of colonists because basically their homes were taken away. And then Georgia, as you will see in this map here, Georgia's border is spread from, originally it was just here, and Georgia's border is spread all the way over to the Mississippi River. So as of 1763, and you're going to need a piece of paper to take notes real fast. As of 1763, Georgia took up the land that now occupies Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. Well, you see here that the English had gained control over Florida, and there's this area here. We need to go back and make sure that we've got these dates. In 1733, whenever James Oglethorpe, remember, had just got here after he received the charter of 1732, he signs the Treaty of Savannah, which he had signed with, of course, Chief Tomochichi of the Yamacraw Indians. So the first thing you need to make sure that you have down is Treaty of Savannah was in 1733. I'll give you just a moment to write that down. A later treaty was the Treaty of Augusta, which is in the yellow here, which grows the land of more and more settlers come over, so of course they're going to need more land, so they get the land here. And again, that is the Treaty of Augusta. And lastly, you have the 1773 Creek Land Cession, which is here in the blue. Again, that's the Creek Indians, and make sure you remember that the Creek Indians were settled on this area here, and the Cherokee are along this area here in northern Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina. And of course, West Florida and East Florida, this area down here, which is the area that is obtained because of the Treaty of Paris in 1763 at the end of the French and Indian War. Again, I will give you just a minute to get this down. Any questions so far? All right, let's go back to the slides. Okay, so the Proclamation of 1763. We've discussed much of this, but I'm going to read through this really fast. War victory brings problems. Great Britain faces large war debts after 1763, and they feel that the colonists should help pay because the British government had sent over troops to train the militias to fight this battle, and they had also helped in fighting this battle against the French and the Indians. So again, they're going to go into debt, and they feel like the colonists should help pay. An important thing to remember here, because of the French and Indian War, a lot of the militias had learned how to fight. Well, this is going to come back to bite the British in the American Revolution, because the colonists were using the same tactics and the same type of warfare that the English were. And eventually, of course, the colonists, or the patriots as they're going to be called, are going to end up winning their independence from Great Britain. Colonists settle new land, and of course the natives or the Indians attack and settlers fight back. New territory was hard and expensive for England to defend. Proclamation of 1763 banned settlements west of the Appalachians, and colonists believe they have the right to settle west. They ignore the ban, so they go beyond the Appalachian Mountains. The English cannot enforce the proclamation or taxes on colonists. So Georgia begins to take shape. The British control protects Georgia. Georgia is the youngest and smallest colony. It was founded by a nonprofit group, but after 1763, it's actually the largest colony because, again, it goes all the way out to the Mississippi River. The war victory removes threat of Spanish and French raids. The Mississippi and St. Mary's rivers form Georgia's borders to the west and to the south. And Georgia grows and prospers. The Treaty of Augusta, as you wrote down a moment ago, with the Creek in 1763, triples Georgia's size, and other treaties add 2 million acres. The population is nearly 50,000 by 1766, and Georgians generally were optimistic, and other colonies began to be very unhappy with Great Britain. That is the end of this section, and we will move on to the next one.